We can't go to Essen this year, but there are hundreds of new games being shown at the online convention SPIEL.digital. I've researched them all, played some, and I'm here to tell you about the best ones to check out. If you find it useful, please support the channel on Patreon. Most of the games are available to try for free on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator. I've put links to that and where to buy them in the description below. Detective Season 1 is a follow-up to Detective: A Modern Crime Game, a cooperative crime-solving game from Portal Games that was my favourite game of 2018. Season 1 offers a simpler, shorter take on the original, with 3 standalone cases that last about 90 minutes each. You read the opening story and then it's up to you to decide which leads to follow. You have limited time to work with and you have to use your intuition to decide which leads will be worth it. I really like that the game lets you decide how to approach it. There's no magic piece of evidence you need to find to solve the case. Rather, each card will give you an extra thread to add to your web as you build theories. It feels real. Criminals don't just confess, but they will say something that gives you a clue. It promotes real deduction. The answer isn't handed to you. You need to make notes, to catch the little details, and you need to discuss theories with your teammates, which is exactly what you want from a crime-solving game. I've played all 3 cases, and they're really well written. Every time we found out a new piece of information, our theory changed, just like watching a whodunit. Season 1 takes it one step further by giving you photos of the suspects, which you can use in your mind map. A nice touch that really encourages you to get into the spirit of the game. I like that you get different types of evidence through their police database website. Case 1 has CCTV clips of the victim, and the simple but clever stress level indicators, which tell you when a suspect could be lying, reminiscent of the video game LA Noire. Unfortunately, Season 1 doesn't feature the USP of Original Detective, which had you searching the internet for real-world information relevant to your case. And that's the only bit that I really miss. The cases manage to retain the same feel of Detective in a format that is much more accessible and a great introduction to the genre for newbies. I still prefer the original meaty detective campaign, but for some people they were too long, and Season 1 solves that problem. Besides, I can never have enough good cases to solve. If you like detective games, I'd highly recommend it. New York Zoo is the latest game from designer Uwe Rosenberg, and this one combines 2 types of games he loves to make. It has the Tetris puzzle of his game Patchwork, and it has you breeding animals like in Agricola. The game is a race to finish building your zoo by filling up your board with animal enclosures and attractions. Your options are simple. You can move the elephant a number of spaces forward on its path and stop to pick up an enclosure, a Tetris piece, or stop on an animal spot to collect the 2 animals shown. When you place an enclosure into your zoo, you have to put an animal into it, and you're trying to fill it up as quickly as possible, because when it's full, you're rewarded with an attraction tile. The attraction tiles are not equal, so there's a race to finish an enclosure first so that you can grab the huge roller coaster that fills up 8 spaces on your board. As your board fills up, attraction tiles become really important to fill in the awkward spaces in your zoo. When the elephant moves past a breeding point on the path, that species will breed. Every player who has 2 of that species in the same enclosure adds an extra one. It can be heartbreaking to not get a second animal before they breed, knowing that you've missed out on a freebie. Every turn presents agonizing decisions. You might see a Tetris piece that fits your board perfectly, but you know that this will be your last chance to get a meerkat before they breed, and you missed out on it last time. And the Tetris pieces themselves raise questions. Is it better to get a big, awkward shaped piece? They will take up the most space in your zoo, but will create problems that you'll need attractions to fix. The smaller, simpler enclosures are useful because they fill up with animals much quicker, so you'll get an attraction sooner. There's a lot to consider on your turn, and that can slow things down in a 4-player game. I prefer to play this one at 2 players because it moves quicker, and it's much easier to strategize because you can foresee which pieces and animals are likely to be available when it comes back to you. New York Zoo is a great twist on a typical Tetris puzzle game by adding a whole other layer to think about. To win, you have to give both sides of the game your full attention. Smartphone Inc. is a rich strategy game in which you play as competing mobile phone companies trying to dominate the market and make the most money. You start off selling basic phones in your region, and as the game goes on, you'll need to expand into other parts of the globe. But if another player sells their phone in the same region, The public might buy their phones instead. How do you guarantee your phone sells? By lowering its price. If you undercut your rivals, you'll sell all your units, but of course you'll make less money. If you price it high, you'll only sell your stock if your rival doesn't meet demand this round. It's a brilliant simulation of running a business, and crucially, it's fun. You really feel the pressure of your competitors as you decide whether to hold your nerve with the price, and the heartbreak of lowering your price when no one else does, costing yourself money. The other way to make your phone competitive is to invest in advanced technology such as 4G or improved battery life. If you're the only company who can offer consumers these features, you'll get guaranteed sales regardless of price. You'll want to do everything you can to succeed, but your options are limited by the unique way you select your actions each round. You must arrange these two double-sided tiles so that the actions you want are visible. If 3 tech symbols are visible, you'll have 3 tech points to spend this round. And the amount of product you make is how many visible crate symbols plus the number of squares you cover up on the bottom tile. If you make too much and it doesn't sell, it will go to waste, and you could have been improving other sides of your business this round. Everyone does this planning at the same time, then you reveal. You're determining your options for the whole round, from research to production, even changing the price of your product. It gets you thinking ahead, but with the constant tension of never quite getting what you want from the puzzle. Smartphone Inc. is rare for a modern strategy game because it pits you against each other, vying for the same customers. You have to watch what technology they're researching, which regions they're moving into, and what price they're selling at. You have to read the market and your rivals, which makes it far more interesting to me than other economic games I've played. It's fun, challenging, and thematic. I love it. Gods Love Dinosaurs is a new game from Casper Lapp, the designer of Magic Maze, and one that stands out as quite different from other games. You play as a god trying to grow and sustain a delicate ecosystem, making sure that there's enough food for your predators to thrive. Your lands start off small with the animals at the bottom of the food chain, frogs, rats, and rabbits. Each turn you add a tile to your ecosystem, expanding their habitats. When one of those animals is activated, they will breed, each rabbit creating another rabbit, if there's enough room in their chosen habitat. Putting the right tiles in the right places are crucial to maximize population growth, but it's also important where you take your tiles from. Each column is connected to a species. Once it's empty, that species activates. The last thing you want to do is to trigger the population growth of a species you don't even have in your ecosystem, because that will benefit the other players, not you. It's a tough choice every time. You're so desperate to have one of each species, but you also need to make sure you have enough habitat for them, because if they populate and you don't have space, you've wasted an activation. And that's just the beginning. The food chain needs some predators, eagles and tigers. When they get activated, they will eat nearby prey, growing their species. If you can't feed them, they will die, which is devastating. So the timing of activations is huge. If you just let your tigers eat all your rats, giving you loads of tigers, then the tigers activate again, they have nothing to eat, and all your hard work ends up withering on the vine. What you want is for dinosaurs to activate, so they can eat the tigers and eagles and convert them into dinosaur eggs, which are points. But how many to eat? You'll want to leave at least one tiger and eagle to rebuild those species later. You can spend a dinosaur egg to grow another dinosaur so that you can eat more predators and make more eggs per activation, but the dinosaurs have to eat, and if there aren't enough predators, they will eat your prey, which scores no points and screws up your ecosystem, because what will the future predators eat? I don't know much about ecosystems, but I hear that term delicate balance used a lot, and that's the perfect description of Gods Love Dinosaurs. Every decision is crucial. If you let your predators run wild and eat too many rats, you'll struggle to get their population back up. But if you don't give your predators enough to eat, they'll never get going enough to survive a dinosaur attack. It's a genius predicament. And it's thematic. Gods Love Dinosaurs is a fun game that feels like nothing I've ever played. If you want a unique game for your collection, check out this gem. Chronicles of Crime 1400 is a new standalone detective game that brings new cases to solve, using the same great system as the original Chronicles of Crime. The stories take place in medieval Paris, and you start by exploring the crime scene. Using the mobile phone app, you look around the virtual world, searching for clues. As you see things that could prove to be useful, you shout them out to your teammates. If you aren't observant enough, you could miss vital pieces of evidence that will make it harder for you to delve deeper into the case. Then you will visit locations and talk to the people connected to the case. Each character card has a QR code which you scan to talk to them. Then to ask them about someone or something, say the murder weapon, you scan the QR code of that. It gives you a real sense of freedom in your investigation because you can ask any character about anything. If you have a hunch that one character is the killer, you can ask everyone about them until you get something. Chronicles of Crime 1400 has two things that set it apart from the original game. First, there's your dog, Percival. He follows you around and you can get him to sniff objects to track the scent. He will either point you towards who last touched it or lead you to a new location. The other addition are these vision cards. Your character has prophetic dreams about the crimes. The game shows you these visions, but it's up to you to work out what they mean and how they relate to the case. It's a neat feature because it gives you something else to inspire your theories. As the case evolves, it gives you new context to the visions and what they're really telling you. And they help build out the world you're in, immersing you deeper into the story. If you already love Chronicles of Crime, this is more of the same great experience. And if you're new to it, you can absolutely start here. There's even a tutorial to teach you the game. I really appreciate that this is a standalone version of the game so that once you're finished with the cases from the original, you don't have to keep it around to play these new sets. I love playing Chronicles of Crime 2-player with my wife, and this one is perfect for the winter months. Compromat is a simple 2-player card game that takes inspiration from blackjack. You play as Russian spies, competing over 4 missions each round to get the most points. On your turn, you draw a card from your private deck, placing that number face up in front of one of the missions. After each card, you can choose to stick or twist. If you draw another card, you look at it and place it face down on the same mission. The other player doesn't know how well you're doing. You can keep going, adding cards until you want to stop. But if you push your luck too far and go over 21, you go bust. Except the other player doesn't know that. And that's where the bluffing comes in. When you stop drawing cards, it could be because you're being safe or because you went bust. They can't know for certain. Later on, when they're targeting the same mission, they'll be influenced by what you did. They can see the one visible card and how many face down cards there are. Do they think you played it safe, sticking at around 16, or do they need to beat a 20? That unknown encourages a certain type of player, me, to take risks. But risk-taking comes with a punishment. If you go bust, you will gain a notoriety token. If you ever get 9 of them, you immediately lose the game. Certain missions will give 2 or 3 notoriety to the winner. You still want those cards, but they come with a risky downside. What's clever is that if the game ends naturally after 6 rounds, your notoriety tokens become points. So there's a real incentive to spying as close to the sun as possible and getting away with it. The game is begging you to take risks because if you ever get 21 on a mission, you not only win the mission, but you lose a notoriety token. And the way your deck is made up, it's a lot more likely that you'll hit 21 than in traditional blackjack. So you'll often find yourself in a situation where you think, if I just draw another 7, I'll get a perfect mission. So you do. The game is made more exciting by powerful one-use gear cards which you can win and then use for things such as looking at the next 5 cards in your deck or taking back the last card you played, even after going bust. I really like the way Compromat takes a formula we all know well from blackjack and gives you more to think about and more reasons to push your luck. If you want a light 2-player card game that you could play with anyone, check this one out. My Farm Shop is a dice-rolling family game from designer Rudiger Dorn being demoed at SPIEL.digital but won't be available to buy until December. Your goal is to make the most money by farming produce such as wool and milk, then selling it for the best price. You start the game with a humble farm, only able to make and sell small amounts, but each turn you'll upgrade it to improve production. You roll 3 dice and choose one of them to buy the corresponding upgrade at the market, adding it to any of the fields in your farm. Now when you get a 3, you'll gain milk and wool. Then you add together the numbers on the 2 remaining dice and activate that field. So if you're left with a 9, you'll produce a ball of wool, adding it to your farm shop. Every other player gets to activate that number field in their farm on your turn as well. It's the same mechanism used in Machi Koro or Space Base, but here you can be really torn between getting the upgrade you really want or using that die to activate the number you want. To make money, which you need to win the game, you have to sell goods. And again, you need to activate the right spots to make that happen. Here, selling 2 goods for 3 coins. As the game goes on, the upgrades will get much better. For example, selling 2 eggs for 5 coins. That will encourage you to specialize in certain goods and get upgrades which work well with each other. The challenge is in expanding your farm so that it runs efficiently. If you take too many upgrades that only produce goods, you might end up filling up your shop with stuff and not being able to sell them all. And where you place your upgrades is crucial because you're more likely to roll certain numbers. Although it seems like on the surface, there's plenty going on in my farm shop. You can alter dice results by spending a burlap bag, so there's room to maneuver your strategy, but still that pure excitement from rolling exactly what you needed. And there's sunflower tokens which you can use to improve a field so it produces more each time it activates. To keep the game varied, you won't see all the upgrades in one game, and there are 3 expansion modules you can play with. My farm shop is the perfect level for a gateway game. Just like Rudiger Dawn's other games, Las Vegas and Luxor, it's simple enough for anyone to pick up, but with enough clever twists to keep someone like me hooked. Don't be fooled by the cutesy cover, this one has hidden depths. Before the final game, I want to mention that these aren't all of the great games coming out this winter. A lot have been delayed by COVID-19 and I couldn't get them into the video in time. I will be making another video like this. If you want to see it, then subscribe to the channel. And if you found this useful, please support me making videos on patreon.com/Actualol. This video wouldn't exist without viewer support. Truffle Shuffle is a new card game from the team behind last year's Point Salad. And if you like that, you'll probably like this. It couldn't be simpler. On your turn, you take a chocolate from the display and add it to your hand. You're trying to create sets of cards to sell for points. The display has a mixture of face-up and face-down cards. The backs of cards are colored, so you half know what you're getting. It also means you can see what colors your opponents are collecting and see if they're likely to take the card you want. I like that you can look ahead to the later rows and know what will be available as you decide which sets to aim for, if you can get those cards. The way it's arranged, you can only take a card once the cards on top of it have been taken, so every time you take a card, you're freeing up something else. Which card you pick isn't always about which one you want, but what you don't want your opponents to get. There will be cards you really want locked in place turn after turn as everyone dances around them, unwilling to break the deadlock. The sets you're creating are like poker hands. The best is a straight flush, 1 to 5 in the same color. So you're inclined to hang on until you can create the perfect set, except you'll eventually run out of time. You can only deliver 1 set per turn, and at the end of the round, you have to discard almost all of your hand. And to entice you to cut your losses and sell a weaker set, there is a bonus for the first few sets sold in a round. There are special cards that help you complete your sets. Duplicate copies a number, so it's great for number sets. And these hash numbers are great for filling in for the rare 1s or 2s on straights. These take 2 cards let you take 2 on the same turn, which means you can grab a card you really want that's trapped. Truffle Shuffle is straightforward, quick playing, and satisfying. If you like light card games, you should definitely give this one a go. Those are the hottest games at SPIEL.digital 2020. There are links to buy them below. I'm Jon Purkis, thanks for watching.